いいんですかこういうのは。
はい、いや、本当に
いずれもただの太った人だと思ったところで
わからないですね。
ただこれは全く効いてない様子です。この第2ラウンドはどういう声か、カウンターのパンチを見せていったストレンギ
During this downtime in the sport, there's no better time to get into the weird side of mixed martial arts. And when I was going back and checking up some old fights, I stumbled upon a time capsule, one of my favorite fighters of all time, a lightweight, 155-pound fighter, a dynamo who would fight and dance at the same time, even will fight you backwards, literally walking with his back towards you, while holding all the respect in the world for the sport and even his opponents. Genki Sudo from Japan was just awesome, and he went up against the notorious Butterbean in mixed martial arts. This is way back on New Year's Eve in 2003. Where Genki Sudo defeated him in the second round by submission, and it was quite interesting how this was going down. Genki Sudo was fighting this behemoth, like how I fight Dark Souls bosses. Strike, land a hit, run for dear life, roll away, and repeat until you slay the dragon. This guy was literally fighting him like he's a video game boss. And you saw throughout the fight that Genki Sudo was touching and going, hit and run constantly, literally jogging around the ring, being way too fast for the 300-pound Butterbean to catch up to, and just would constantly kick at his legs, kick at his body, and just keep moving away. Butterbean was not fast enough to grab a hold of Genki Sudo. Now, everybody who knows about Butterbean recognizes the power that he possesses. This guy has absurd amount of power in his hands. He's a boxer. He doesn't throw kicks. He doesn't grab a hold of you. He's a guy that they use in mixed martial arts to just put on these spectacles with, and amassed a record of 17 wins, 10 losses, and 1 draw. But against Genki Sudo, this was his first ever MMA fight, and it was Genki Sudo's 14th fight 5 years into his mixed martial arts career before he went into becoming a singer and then later a politician. So he definitely uses craftiness, speed, and experience to get the better of Butterbean, not only on the ground when it eventually goes there in the second round, but even in the stand-up where Butterbean was trying to chase this guy. At one point, it got pretty scary at about 4 minutes of the first round because Genki Sudo kept throwing that side kick to the knee. So with his lead leg, he's throwing that side kick directly straight into the knee. If this misses, it causes you to overstep and get too close to your opponent, and too close to Butterbean could spell the end of the fight for you, especially when you're half his weight. And because of that overstep, Genki Sudo had to run away, man. He had to get out of there as fast as possible because Butterbean becomes confident with that range to chase him down. And he starts throwing those left hooks, and Genki Sudo literally prones and crawls away just to get away from the guy, knowing that Butterbean is not going to get on top of him, right? Butterbean doesn't understand any form of grappling. It's a good example of what happens when you're going up against someone who has no understanding of grappling whatsoever, even if they have double the weight advantage on you. They have no idea how to engage in this kind of scenario, so they're just going to do what they know best, and that's throw punches. And with how much Genki Sudo's running around the ring, the ref should have just been out of there because he was getting in the way of Genki Sudo a couple times. This is a David versus Goliath kind of matchup, and David needs his space. But you could see a lot of these kicks from Genki Sudo were not really having much effect on Butterbean. Even a turning side kick to the body, which is one of the more powerful kicks you could throw at somebody, and it literally just bounces off him like he's Botamo from Dragon Ball. And then Genki Sudo finally attacks with a technique to get the fight to the ground in his preferred area of this fight. He shows his left hand high as a bait to hide his takedown, but the distance is so far, Butterbean still saw him shoot at his leg. But even him seeing it, he doesn't know how to react to it. If this was another big guy that understood wrestling, he would have absolutely stuffed this takedown. He dives in for a low single leg, slides on the angle, and takes down Butterbean. You could see Butterbean had no idea of how to defend this. He had no idea how to address it. You could just see his brain malfunctioning, trying to come up with solutions once Genki Sudo shot that takedown on his leg. He went so low, Butterbean literally just stood there and watched him, looking like he wanted to throw a left hook at him. And all Genki Sudo does to take down the much bigger man is he's gripping around the ankle and he's pulling it into his shoulder while leaning forward with his entire upper body into that leg, causing Butterbean to tumble over. Butterbean tries to grab him, but just has no idea on the grip, how to get a hold of him, and how to get his balance back. It's all technique from here, and Butterbean had none of it, even though he's the much stronger man. And Genki Sudo was in the full guard for quite a bit, but decided to go for a submission as soon as that last 10-second mark hits. When he heard that sound, he tried to do something to get a finish here because he knows the next round is going to start standing, and he wants this fight on the ground. So by trying to get this finish, he falls back into a heel hook, turning over that heel inward, which is going to do some damage on that knee no matter how big you are. And Butterbean, I thought he tapped. with his foot. You can see him hitting Genki Sudo with that foot, but at the same time, his hands are free to tap if he wants out of it. So that's the reason I think why the ref didn't stop the fight or think that was a tap from Butterbean. And you can see Butterbean just has no idea what to do. He grabs a hold of Genki Sudo's shoe. He's literally trying to squeeze his toes, like trying to give him a quick pedicure. There's an enormous amount of difference in skill between these two guys. In the second round, the fight starts standing again, and Genki Sudo still goes out there with some risky techniques. He actually throws a hopping switch front kick to the body. This is a very risky technique to throw at anybody, let alone a much bigger man who wants you right in front of them. And Butterbean lands the first meaningful punch on the jaw of Genki Sudo. Genki did move his head with the punch. He did turn away from it as soon as it came at him, but you could also see the blow of impact knock Genki Sudo away from him, and he wasn't done. Genki is ready to put on a show. In pro wrestling fashion, he runs into the ropes, bounces off, and drop kicks Butterbean. If the hop switch front kick was not risky enough, this guy literally dove at him, expecting a better result, but it actually was. A better result did happen. He didn't get punched in the face this time. Butterbean grabbed him, and Genki fell to the ground. Back into Genki's world, and you have to also notice where his legs are in that position. So when Butterbean grabbed him, he's grabbing onto that one left leg of Genki, which is going to put that leg into the left ribs of Butterbean. And with Genki's right leg, he's going to put that in between Butterbean's legs mid-fall, which is very, very hard to do with someone that heavy on top of you, to be maneuvering like that. And he starts squirming to his right, rotating toward the leg, grabs the leg, and pushes Butterbean forward with his legs, attacking with another heel hook submission, and gets the tap this time. Genki Sudo defeats Butterbean, which goes down as one of the biggest David beats Goliath moments in all of MMA. And this is just a fantastic opportunity to start talking about Genki Sudo a little bit more. I mean, this guy was so respectful. He was a very beloved fighter wherever he fought at. He had some of the best entrances of all time, always a very entertaining fighter no matter what. He did lose a few fights. He put himself at risk so many times in fights, but he did it for our entertainment. But a 16-4-1 record is not bad at all. Even defeating future WEC World Champion Mike Brown, he beat Nate Marquardt, who later became a middleweight. He did have a couple notable wins on his record, but after he upsetted Damasio Page by submission on New Year's Eve again, but this time of 2006, he goes on to retire, and afterward he became a wrestling coach, he became a singer, a politician, got his qualifications to become a scuba diving professional, and passed his exam to start cooking as well. His group World Order is amazing, man. I jam out to his New York song all the time. There's nothing this man can't do. And I wonder, why doesn't he just continue to make music? They do very well. He could literally have a whole career in music. And he was just as respectful in the ring as he was outside of it. I wish the world knew more about Genki Sudo. This guy was absolutely amazing.